Hi, welcome to this fourth in our series on love one another. It's great you're listening in. I'll just give a short summary of the message from Sunday. Today we're looking at serve one another. So we look at the series on what it means to love one another. We're reading from Galatians, where it says, don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbour as yourself. Now, Paul was writing to a church in Galatia that was had lots of divisions around did they need to follow the old law or not. And he's saying, hey, we're free from the law. But he said, don't use your freedom to satisfy just doing whatever you want to do. Actually, your freedom should lead to us serving one another. What does that mean? Well, serving is really a practical way of showing love. And it comes out of a heart attitude. It comes out of a grateful heart that we're so grateful for what God has done that we want actually to express that gratitude by serving others. It comes from a heart attitude of humility where we don't think of others as better than ourselves. Someone once said, you're never more Christ-like than when you're serving. You're never more Christ-like than when you're serving. Serving, though, does require sacrifice. And that, of course, runs into the issue of our selfishness, of our heart, because we want to keep our time for ourselves, our money for ourselves. We want to use our skills to advance ourselves. But inevitably, serving will mean using our resources for others. It costs us. If we want to follow Jesus, there's a cost. And it cuts across our selfishness. The reality is, though, we're all serving something. We're all serving ourselves, our idols of entertainment or addiction or pleasure or sport. We're all serving something. But serving will require sacrifice. Serving is also a prerequisite for leadership. The disciples used to argue quite a bit about, who's top dog, who's the greatest, who's going to be the one that calls the shots, who's going to be the one that says, go and make the coffee, as opposed to, can I make you a coffee? And you see this all over the place, people wanting to be in that position of control and power. In the sports club or just small groups or in work, you see people hankering after being the one boss, being the one in charge, being the one that can tell others what to do. Jesus said, actually, if you want to be a leader in the kingdom, you've got to serve. Servant leadership, powerful concept. If you want to choose a leader, choose someone who's going to serve you, not someone that wants to be top dog. We can also, though, serve out of a wrong motivation. While serving is a prerequisite for leadership, we're all called to serve. We can serve out of a wrong heart. Sometimes we think, we sort of manipulate God and think if I serve and do this and this, then God will protect me from bad stuff happening. Use it as a bargaining chip. Sometimes we serve because we want others' approval. We want the pastor's approval. We want other people to notice. I think the best way to test our heart around serving is to do something anonymously. To bless someone that they'll never find out about. It's actually really surprisingly hard to do. We want them to secretly find out. But do something to bless someone and not tell anyone. Don't tell anyone at all. Sometimes we can serve out of guilt or fear. Guilted into doing something, we've all done that. Or we're scared of the other person's reaction. Actually, when we're free from needing other people's praise or fearing the other person's reaction, then we're truly free to serve. Who are we to serve? Well, actually, a whole lot of people we're to serve other believers, and there's a whole lot of ways we can do that. Take someone to church. You can cook some meals through the Grace Meals. You can be on one of our service teams. A whole lot of people do stuff around this place with a servant heart to bless. Dozens of ways we can serve each other. We serve each other when we use our spiritual gifts. You should know what your spiritual gift is, and you should be using it to serve and build up the body of Christ. We're to serve our spouses. Heaps of ways we can serve in our homes. Alan Meyer says his definition of headship, and I know there's lots of controversy on that, but his definition of headship, which I don't entirely agree with, but I love the sentiment behind it, is he said the head of the house is the one that lays down their life first. I like that sentiment. We're to serve those in need. You know, the parable of the Good Samaritan, many of you know it. Jesus told it when he was asked by a lawyer, well, who is my neighbour? You know, love your neighbour as yourself. Well, who is my neighbour? And he tells the story of the Good Samaritan, and basically the point of the story is the neighbour is anyone in need. Makes the same point with the story of the sheep and the goats. It was the sick, the hungry, and those in prison who Jesus so identified with. He said, if you serve them, you're actually serving me. Sometimes I think it's very easy in our community to just be in a little bubble and not actually, we isolate ourselves from the fact that so many people in our society are living in poverty, are living in hardship, are struggling, are lonely. We can isolate ourselves from the deep needs within our community. We're to serve those in our workplace. We do that by praying for them, by going the extra mile, by helping our colleagues to do their job well, regardless of who gets the credit. We're to work as if Jesus were our boss. We serve by not grumbling, by being loyal to our workplace. It's all ways we can serve within our workplace. And we can serve our community. I know many of you help out at different agencies. I know some of you volunteer at op shops, the hospice, St John's. It's a way of serving our community. We're going to be taking part in prayer for our city. As you pray for the city, that's a way to serve. We do a thing called Serve the City later in the year, where we just go out and do practical things to bless our city. Actually, the Bible makes clear that actually whoever we serve, we're not really serving a person or the church or an organisation or a boss. When we serve, we're serving as if we're serving the Lord. And when we grasp that idea, it's a radical concept, then actually it changes everything. Totally changes everything. It's like our default setting for all we do is to be a servant, to serve. Now you might be sitting there thinking, Keith, you know, I'm a mum with 2 kids and running around like a headless chook. I just don't have time to do all this stuff, you know, for others. How do we do that? And time, reality is time is probably the most precious resource that we have. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Because we can serve and neglect our family, we can serve and lose God in the process. So I want to talk about this idea. First of all, that we need to actually recognise that serving others is the love one another, or love our neighbour. But actually the other command is to love God. So we need to make sure we've got that balance right of spending time with God, listening to God, worshipping God. Because actually practical service, our love for others, comes out of our relationship with God. So we need that. We desperately need to make sure we're balancing our outward focus with allowing space for God. Secondly, we need to love our neighbour as ourselves. So if we don't love ourselves, don't look after ourselves, we're no use to anyone. Thirdly, we need to serve. Serving needs to be seen in the context of community. That you might be able to do one little thing to help someone, but as a community, we can do so much more as we serve in the community, particularly those who have multiple significant needs. Fourthly, how we serve is going to depend on the season in their life. There'll be seasons where we've got more time and money than others. It's important we recognise that. So to conclude this message on serving one another, it's a basic posture of being a Christian is one of being a servant. It's our basic posture, and it comes out of a heart attitude, and it flows into every area of our lives. So this week I encourage you, make a deliberate choice to serve wherever you are, to have that servant heart attitude. May God bless.